All right, friends, we're at 3 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon. Now, in the good old days, this would be the time that you could then tune in to your favorite rugby team and watch some sport or some cricket or whatever sports was on. I can't remember. It's almost difficult now to remember how we spent our Saturday afternoons. But you know what? Maybe this is the new way of spending our Saturday afternoons in a very informative environment. We've just come out of the first day with 8 very interesting sessions. This is now almost our second last session for this afternoon today. So almost at the end of today. And if this is your first time to tune into the virtual trade fair, welcome. You are part of making history. It's the first time in history that something that was developed in Africa, that's also the first trade fair actually being done in Africa. And it's a thing that came around very quickly in the last couple of months. And what's even more amazing was the wonderful people we started to meet as a result of it. Now, I personally am going to introduce a person now that apart from seeing him now for the first time on the screen, I haven't met, but I know that by the end of our session, we will feel like old family because we are friends of friends. And that's going to be the new way of the future, because there's no time to reinvent the wheel. But what if we could tap into the networks and the friendships that was already formed over many, many years? And I'm thankful that a platform like this, and specifically our auditorium and the speaker session, allows us to go into that kind of networking. So Bentley, welcome on board. And you have an interesting topic that you're going to talk to us about innovation in concrete slabs and stuff like that. So if 3 months ago you would have told me I will spend a Saturday afternoon listening to a topic on concrete slabs, it would not have been in my framework at that stage. But it's very interesting because not only I want you to speak about your topic, but also about, you know, you obviously have been part of this whole lockdown, and I don't know how much of that has affected your industry, but we all know that lockdown is not forever. And then coming out of it, what is the new future in construction and all of that? So over to you. Take the floor and tell us what's on your heart.
Thank you very much, Jasper. I think with that, I'll just kick off. My name is Bentley Stein, and I developed a concrete slab that does not need any propping whatsoever. I ended up calling it Bentley Beams. And the contents, obviously, is the introduction, history, tables, steel stirrups, and I'll go all the following content one by one, and I'm sure that you'll understand it a hell of a lot better. Bentley Beams has developed a solution for the construction of slabs spanning up to 8 meters. We actually span up to 9 meters. From 7.6 meters, we have to prop them in the middle. Casting a deck, be it in situ or precast, usually borders on chaos, with plumbers, electricians, and steel fixers working over and around each other. This can take up to a week, 2 weeks. I just actually went yesterday to a job and they took 2 months to install the slab. And then it takes another 28 days before you can take the props out. All this is costing you money. I've developed a solution to all those challenges. Now we're going to history. As you can see on the top here, there we got it. That is a 6.2 meter beam. And we loaded it with 1,000 kilograms and there was no deflection whatsoever. And then we actually changed this a little bit. We made it even better and increased the MPa on the concrete to make it even better. Here at the bottom, you can see this guy here, he weighs about 80 kilograms. And we initially made a concrete cardboard box which folded together and fitted in here. This block's 80 kilograms, he's walking on it, and there's not a problem. This is, over here we're throwing concrete on these boxes. These particular ones, the black and the red, were treated with waterproofing. These here are just plain boxes, finished. We didn't treat them at all, just to see what the difference was. And even these without any waterproofing on worked first class. We didn't have any problems with them. And then here, the one problem we had is that the void filler over here was actually hollow at the bottom. So one would have had to put in ceilings, dropped ceilings. Over here we come to the tables, and these are Procon tables. And according to these tables, you can see over here just a rib and a slab at 7 meters. They call for, let me see if I can just move this a little bit, or move this picture up a bit. Okay, that'll be fine. Over here on a 7 meter span, it calls for 312s, Y12s. Now we've tried using Y12s in our system before. It doesn't work. The only thing that works is Y16s. And here when you go to the rib slab plus a wall, you can see over here on the 7 meter span, it calls for 2 Y16s at the bottom and 1 Y12 on the top. It also doesn't work. So we only use Y16s. And on a 7 meter span, we use 2 Y16s at the bottom and a Y12 on top. At about 4 meters to 4.5 meters, we use a single Y16 at the bottom and a Y16 on top. It's the only way it works. Otherwise, you pick up deflection. Has it? Sorry about that. This is what our beams look like. And we've changed it a little bit. You can see over here, well, the configuration of the steel with the 2 Y16s at the bottom and the 1 Y16 on the top. This gap between the Y16 and the top of the concrete, we increased that to 24 millimeters. So the concrete could go in underneath the steel and grab hold of that steel, turning this into an H-beam or an I-beam, whatever. This over here was 150 millimeters, which we converted, we changed, and we made it 140. Because we took the bottom part over here, which was 50 millimeters, and we increased this to 60 millimeters. It gives you more space for your steel, and it also allows us to put a third Y16 in over there, if necessary. That all depends on the loading. This is the configuration of the stirrups in between the steel. And we do it exactly like this. And here we have 2 beams. There's one and there's one. The only difference is that we've now got 620 millimeters between the ribs, because the polystyrene that's molded for us is 56 millimeters. So that brings us to 620 millimeters. Here we have what our beams look like. And when we started, we started manufacturing them at 40 MPa. We then graduated to 50 MPa. And then eventually we settled on 65 MPa because it gave us better, they didn't crack at all and they didn't break at all. The deflection was far better on them. They can carry a lot more weight. And then we have less vibration, because before, once we cast the slab, there was a certain amount of vibration on the slab until it cured fully after 21 days. So now by going in and beams come in at about
Sorry, looks like we've lost you, Bentley.
Jasper, his connection is lost.
Right.
If I can get him back.
See if you can. All right, while we wait for Bentley to come back in, I know some of us, like Donovan, I know you come out of as a QA, QA is coming out of the construction industry. Pierre, you out of that too. So think of some questions you want to ask Bentley when we get to the question and answer section. And just start putting your questions maybe on the side so that I know at what stage to bring it in. Those of you who are tuned in so far, what was your expectation of the session, and so that we can start also steering it towards some questions that you might have. All right, looks like Bentley's back. Okay, Bentley, you're muted. If you can just unmute yourself.
There we go.
Okay. Yeah. So we've lost you there between 6 and 7 meters. Muted. If you can just unmute yourself. No, I'm only joking.
Okay, I think this was the last.
So we've lost you there between 6 and 7 meters.
Okay, so let's just have a look what we got on. Okay, I think this was the last. I think this was the last that you heard in full. Okay, now we've come to this. Did you see this when I spoke about the stirrups? Okay.
We're not
Bentley.
seeing your screen right now. Well, we'll just get your screen back up.
Can you see it?
Not yet.
Where is it going to?
All right, is there something you can toss sharing without the visuals in front of you, Bentley?
Okay. All right, let's do that and finish. Let's get on, even if we can put it on the side, then I know what to talk about. Okay, I think we finished the tables as such, where we only use Y16s, which gives, basically our beams are over-engineered really, according to Procon. But we need that, otherwise the system doesn't work. Okay, next.
Okay, not a worry if
Go to that one.
don't have the slides up. So maybe just try and visually describe to us what you see on your slides. And also bear in mind, some of us here are not technical or construction literate. So if you call it a rip, maybe see if you can just describe it to us. And I think that makes part of the interesting learning curve for all of us on this platform. Bentley, are you still with us? Looks like we've lost Bentley again. I'm actually surprised that we haven't had more of these incidents with the poor connectivity in some areas of our country. There we are, Bentley. Now I can see you clear, but you're muted. There we are. I can see your presentation. I can't hear you. Just make sure you're unmuted.
Okay.
There we are. Now I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, let's go back again. Let's hope we can get it all done before it goes off again.
Oh, yeah. So the slides we haven't seen, so you can start back to polystyrene.
There, that's it.
Okay, I think we discussed the stirrups between the steel, which is basically this the way it is. And here we have two beams where you put your polystyrene in the middle. And it's a 620 gap between the two beams.
We were 2 slides ahead of this, Bentley. We
Sorry?
did this
Okay.
one. Carry on. We did this one. Just move one more slide.
Okay,
Move
that
more.
one.
That one. There. That's where you were.
Okay, this one was pretty simple. We started off with 40 MPa. We graduated to 50 MPa, and then eventually we settled on 65 MPa at 21 days, which gives you about 45 MPa after 7 days. We had less vibration on the slab, and the beams are much stronger. And when the concrete encapsulates that top steel, it turns it into a H-beam. 10 beams are cast at a time. And then here we come to the polystyrene, which we're putting in between the beams. Polystyrene void fillers are manufactured from EPS to fit the space created by the 620 beam spacing. And the thermal resistance, or R value, is 3.7, greater than 3.7. Fire classified as B, B1, 2, H, and V. Suitable for use in all industrial, residential, and commercial buildings as an under-roof and side cladding insulation material. As far as moisture is concerned, this polystyrene is non-hygroscopic and not affected by moisture. In general, not affected by bacteria, mold, or fungi, and has no nutrient value for insects, birds, or vermin. They will remain effective as an insulant for the life of the building. The polystyrene that we use is recycled polystyrene, so it's green. Now we're coming to installation over here. And here you can see this particular job we did in Louis Trichardt. It was 630 square meters. And we started at 7 o'clock in the morning. And by 1 o'clock, we'd actually finished laying all the beams and most of the polystyrene. We carried on for the rest of the afternoon and managed to get all the polystyrene in. And then the next day, we just went through and checked that everything was correct. Well, here's, you can see the guys busy working. And I'll leave you to look at it for a couple of minutes. And then here, this was a job we did for Virgin Active Gym. And this was a 6 meter span. And here you can see the mesh, which is Ref 100. And if you look there, you can see the thickness of the concrete, which that time was 50 millimeters. We've now changed that to 60 millimeters. Here you can see we're busy pouring concrete. I'm just going to turn it on so that you can see. And there's no props underneath. You can see the guys standing on the polystyrene. It does not collapse. And over here, we're throwing 60 millimeters of concrete. And then we vibrate it. The vibrator's not going at the moment, but just now well, if we hang around and wait, we'll see that they got it. But there is a stick, which the guy's holding here, which he measures the depth of the concrete all the time to make sure it's only 60 millimeters. That's as far as the beam and the no propping beam goes and how it works. And then we had a problem because quite a few slabs we put in, the people told us, how do they plaster the polystyrene? And so I thought about it a little bit, and then I came up with plastic, which is it's a mix that I put together. and you plaster it straight onto the ceiling. If you have a look, that's the consistency that you use to fill up the bigger holes first. And then you'll see just now, there we go, he's closed up all the holes, and now he makes it a little bit thinner, adds more water to it. And he puts it straight onto the ceiling and it sticks. It doesn't fall off at all. And you can plaster it, and you can come back the next day and smooth it out a little bit more, because it takes about 3 days for it to dry properly. When it makes bubbles, you can just, you know, ream them like that and smooth it over, and then it works. And this is designed to have less cracks, because we add fiber into it. So it works. I really don't know what else to say. It's very easy to put on. It's not as difficult as working with ordinary cement and sand. And then here we have details. There's our website over there. And that's our email address, and then the phone numbers to contact us. And in the background over here, you can see it's almost like a watermark, I suppose, in a way. This is an 8-meter beam that has 3,300 kilograms on it in a point load. And it's sagged by 15 millimeters, which is acceptable according to engineering standards. I think that basically answers everything. And now we can go to questions if anybody's got any questions.
All right, thank you, Bentley. I think some of the questions that came up, let me just check. Donovan had a question. Donovan, open up your mic and ask the question directly. It's just whoever is doing the slides. If you've shared the screen, Bentley, if you can just there we are. Right, Donovan.
Yes, thank you.
Are you there? Open
Yes,
up
I'm here.
and just ask your question directly to Bentley.
Okay. Bentley, just a quick question or two. In terms of the comparison between traditional.
So Donovan, you're very soft. Can you get closer to the mic?
Is it better now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. In terms of the comparison between the beams that you design or the structures you design and the traditional cast in situ concrete floors, suspended floors, what's the cost comparison as well as the time comparison to construct? Thank you.
It takes us, we do in a day 150 square meters a day by hand. And when we're using a crane, we can do 1,000 square meters a day with a crane. That's the first thing. The second thing, our costs are far lower. Our costs are actually lower than the normal ribbon block by about 20 or 30 rand a square meter. And the reason for that is our beams are more expensive. But the reason why we're cheaper is that we use less than half the amount of concrete, and our installation costs are less than half. I think a general installation cost is about 200 rand a square meter, and we are 90 rand a square meter. Concrete is generally 200 rand a square meter, plus give or take, and we come in at 85 rand a square meter for concrete.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah,
Thanks,
thank
Donovan. Do you have another question on?
Yeah, just one more. I just also thought about the services that you provide. You also provide design services for these structures.
If you can come closer to the mic, I can hear him better.
Yeah. Do you also provide design services for these structures?
Yes, we offer design services, and our engineer signs off. And our engineer happens to be Ivan Hollander, which I hope is a well-known engineer. I think he is a well-known engineer, but he's a very good engineer.
Okay. Now, thank you very much, Bentley. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Okay.
All right. So I take it, I don't know too much about it, but you're not, are you saving on the curing time as well, or is that just
Yes, you can start working.
process?
The next morning, you just wet the slab and you can start building on top of it. And still without any props.
And Betty, being in construction, have you started out in the beams and stuff, or that you through evolution got into it? And basically, what is the story behind Bentley?
Okay, I moved down to Cape Town after I was farming. I was farming for 25 years. And I moved down to Cape Town and I got into the construction business. And while I was in the construction business, I saw a need for this kind of slab. I started using a non-propping slab where they came in 1.2 meter widths. But then in those days, there was to put in the electrical work and plumbing work was a nightmare. You had to do everything in the walls. So that's why I designed the slab. And then I came up in 2010, and it took me about 5 years to actually start getting into the, well, not getting into the market, but to get going. And in 2015, I got going. And then every year we've almost doubled what we did the previous year. In 2015, we did 600 square meters for the whole year. The following year, we did about 1,200, 1,500 square meters. And then the third year, we did 3,000. Well, we did a hell of a lot more than that. And then last year, we did a hell of a lot more than that. Last year, we ended up averaging around about 1,000 square meters a month. And hopefully this year, in January, well, February, March, we did 2,000 square meters a month. So I'm hoping now that after the lockdown's over, we will stick to the 2,000 square meters a month.
So I have a hand there from Trevor. Trevor, come in.
Yeah, so I'm curious, Bentley, and I love your story. And I remember hearing that you were this farmer and you'd been a couple of years in this little mode. And so I'm listening to these numbers. Let me just shut down my phone here. So I'm curious about sort of numbers and why you're on board promoting this. What are the numbers, the latest number mean to you in revenue terms? As a farmer, I know that you've been sucked dry for hundreds of years, and now you want to make some money. So what are the latest last year's figures mean to you in revenue terms? And then the reason I'm asking that question is if the numbers are exciting enough, what is your next step? What do you want? What do you want to have happen out of a forum like this? Is this national franchising? Where do you want to go with it? So let's start with what do these latest numbers mean to you in revenue terms?
Okay, I'm going to answer this question like this. For the whole of last year, we did a 5 million Rand turnover. What is my vision and what is my mission? Well, my vision and mission are exactly the same. I want to get out, I want to get it into the whole world. There is nothing like this system in the world. 2 days ago, I gave a lecture to India. The University of India asked me if I wouldn't give them a lecture. So I gave them a lecture for 40 minutes, explaining my system. And then they came with a whole lot of different questions. Yeah, what is my mission? What is my vision? I want to grow this business to heights unknown. I basically want it in every city in the world.
So clearly, and I can see I've got some tea coming in the background. So everyone come, my granddaughter's going to deliver me some tea while I'm talking here. I'm calling her in. But obviously, you want to go worldwide. It all starts step by step. and I can see you like me, you're no spring chicken, and this is not going to happen overnight, but you'd actually like to have it happen pretty quickly. So have you got your growth strategy mapped out, or are you needing help with that? Spread it out here. And I'm going to tell you, there's a man on this database, Mark Jarrett, and I don't know if he's able to be listening in the background because he has 44 different networking apps that he listens to. If you've got this as a well-packaged system in a manual ready to go, he can spread the message out there almost worldwide. You can be in New Zealand, Australia. He's got American connections. So I hope he actually comes on board here. So just share with us what you've thought about in terms of having this system concept ready in manual form that you can take a license fee or a royalty out of. And I'm muting myself, or I'm stopping my recording so I can have my tea while I'm listening to you.
Okay. We haven't done, you know what, it's only got to the stage now that I've reached, well, almost 2,000 square meters a month, that are now, I always thought of franchising it. And now's the time I've got to go and see a franchise lawyer and start drawing up the correct papers and get a manual together. Yes, I don't have a manual just yet. Everything's in my head. So I've got to draw up the manuals and get a franchise lawyer to help me to set everything up.
So what would be on your wish list from this little session here? Because remember, it's going out live stream on Facebook. What would be your wish list to come out of just talking about the concept that you've developed from here? Number one, I can only think to a maximum of 3. So you have to give me your priority number 1, 2, and then 3.
Okay. My first priority is I'm going to be moving down. I'm going to open up a branch in Cape Town towards the end of the year to the beginning of next year. I've already had an offer to start in Gansbaai. So once the Cape Town system's going, or unit, then I'll start looking at going to Gansbaai. And somebody contacted me, they're interested in doing it in Knysna. But as you know yourself, you've got to walk before you can crawl. So I would say by the end of next year, we'll have at least 2 to 3 branches open in South Africa. But in the meantime, we've got to start getting the franchising organized so that once those branches are going, that we can start moving into franchising.
So I see Mark's opened up his mic here, and it's very important because Mark knows how to play in this particular field and take a concept and make certain that that concept is connected with the right people. Because if you're doing out of just Gansbaai and this and that sort of thing, you might get a basket load of chicken eggs as a barter situation at the moment, the way things are going here. Mark, come on board. You're hearing an engineer, a farmer who's an engineer, has come up with a particular system that saves people a ton of money. In fact, I spoke to him about a week ago. We want to go up double story. Can we use it? He said, absolutely, yes. It'll be stronger and it's cheaper to actually do. So what's your thoughts on what you hear here and what you could do with a man like this?
I have, beg your pardon, I was in the kitchen when I got a message from Ivan, so I don't really have the context.
Okay, so then what I'm going to suggest to you, please, Mark, put your contact details in the chat forum. Bentley, put yours, and the two of you connect out of this, and you just explain to Mark what it is you're looking to do, and he may actually have you into Europe and the UK, Aussie, and New Zealand faster than you can get down to Gansbaai, let me tell you.
Sounds like a plan. Okay, I'll do that now. Fantastic.
There's Gavin as well. Yeah.
Let me see if I can share my screen again. There we go. That's my website over there. And this is my email over there with my particular phone numbers.
Bentley beams.
Yes.
Fantastic.
If you
Okay.
want to go back, we can show you. This is throwing top surface concrete. This is the system over here. We did a gym for Virgin Active in Braamfontein, and there they're busy with weights, and there's tons of people up there. And the system holds. There's no problem with it whatsoever. It is stronger than the normal ribbon block system.
Fantastic. Would you mind just going back to your contact details again? I'll do a screen grab.
There we go.
Okay, done. Thank you. And I'll post my details now.
You can just contact me on WhatsApp and post your...
Yes, I tend to use WhatsApp quite heavily. I've got just over 90 WhatsApp groups covering all kinds of verticals and sectors, industries and interests. And then I park people into the right group and then try and connect dots. So yeah, love to help you.
I think Bentley, just to come in, then you can stop sharing your screen. He's got the details now.
Okay, fine.
The big thing is, you know, you can embark on a very expensive journey and speak to a lawyer here and speak to an engineer there. And in the end, after having spent hundreds of thousands of rands, you're not further than you are all by yourself.
Yeah.
But you can short circuit that whole thing, and that's why it's important for you, and it's good that you've already connected with Trevor. Please join us this next Friday morning from 9:30 to 11 when we have our Chamber of Commerce networking meeting. And if you see benefit there, I can strongly advise you to join as a member, because as a member of the chamber, you then have access to a panel of top specialists. We've got specialists in franchising, specialists in law, specialists in accounting, you name it. But these are people who have basically earned their keep because of their experience and their holistic thinking and all the things that goes with it. So you know, that will then fast track you on the journey that you're on. So just as a point of reference there, so get the information, let Trevor send you a WhatsApp invite for next Friday, and make sure you join us at that meeting.
I will do that. I really appreciate that. And yes, you're right. If I went on my own, I would be looking at hundreds of thousands of rands. So I think I'm definitely going to go with your offer.
All right, friends, we've still got Bentley on for a few more minutes. If you have questions, is there a hand up or a comment? Dawn, are you just stretching legs there? All right. I'm watching simultaneously for a hand and seeing for some faces there. If I then don't see any further comment, Trevor, you have one more comment.
Yeah. So when you hear that Mark Jarrett has now over 90 particular verticals on WhatsApp, and that what we have here is a farmer who is also an engineer, we've got to ask Bentley, has he got farmers WhatsApp verticals, and has he got engineers WhatsApp verticals, and can he set them up, and how quickly can he do that and introduce Bentley to a worldwide market? And I must say, and Jasper alluded to it, often people overthink the need for protection, and they spend a fortune. And so if you're going to throw 100,000 Rand away, or 100,000 pound, or $100,000, I'll send you my account, put it into my account. It's an escrow account, Trevor Nell, and I'll give you 100% money back guarantee that it will be in good hands. You'll never have to worry about it. But there are ways to actually work with specialists who can push you in different directions. And Mark is one of those, I believe, and we have a network. So Mark, perhaps just talk to us. Do you have a farmer's database or app? Have you thought about that, or an engineer's one? I mean, the number of professionals that are out there in those two particular verticals must be huge. Can't hear you. Unmute yourself, Mark.
No, I haven't, but I have now. I'm going to create one now and call it Farming Fabulous Farmers. Thank you for the inspiration. You
Good.
can have a WhatsApp group for any subject. I actually created one as a joke called Avocado Heaven, and it's turned into this avocado place where people just talk about avocados. It's rather wonderful. But most of them have got like oil and gas, property, investment opportunities, mental health, powerful women. You know, they've all got a theme, apart from the VIP, the Virtual International Pub. That's just a place to go, because the one thing I miss from corporate life, apart from the regular paychecks, of course, is banter. So the VIP place, pub, is just a place where you can go and chat. But even in there, business is being done, because at the end of the day, business is all about forging, well, people and trust.
And let me give you a clue as well, Mark, and also for Bentley. One of the biggest discussion points around Africa, and really where population density is huge, and people are looking for affordable housing solution, modular homes, and especially lightweight, affordable type of structures is a big discussion point all around the world. So, and Bentley, I'm sure you know all about that. You've done your research, and you can give Mark some guidance as to who you want to open up. I mean, I've seen huge tenders come out of the Dubai environments, and organizations looking for simple packaged modular homes that they can put onto a boat, and it's lightweight, and get it across to where they want to set it up overnight.
I just got a closing question for Bentley. Being in that field, and technology is a big disruptor in all areas, have you read up on 3D printing of construction, and what's your view on that?
I have read up on it. I haven't really formulated a view just yet. You know what? I've learned from my own experiences. When you come in with something new, it takes quite a while before you can get it going. So these guys that are coming with it now, I wish them all the luck in the world, because it's going to take a while before they can actually, before people start catching on to it.
All right.
I'd like to answer this. Somebody asked me a question. Does my services include structural design? And yes, they do. And we in Kyalami, that's where the factory is, in Johannesburg. So we can supply anybody in Joburg, Pretoria, and Gauteng, basically.
And just as a general preparation, if you come onto the chamber and you need to start sitting with a group of experts that can help you structure a franchise model, how big is your setup in Kyalami? How much land do you require, and what sort of factory space and factory facilities do you need?
Okay, at the moment, the factory that we got in Kyalami is first class. It works for us. There's a plot right next door to us, which we've already spoken to the owner, and we'll be moving across and utilizing that as well, because I can see us growing.
But when you say, is the extra space then just to store the beams that you prepared, or is it to construct further beams?
Well, it's going to be to construct further beams, and yes, it's to store the beams. We don't make stock as such, because we make every beam according to the sizes that we need. Otherwise, you end up throwing away a hell of a lot of ready-made beams, like 2-meter beams or 1.5-meter beams, which just get thrown away. So the cheapest way of doing it is to manufacture according to every job.
All right, I have no more further questions. I don't see further hands. Then thank you very much, Bentley, for your participation in the forum.